Before we begin, take a breath. This isn't just a podcast, it's a new way to think, speak, and live in English. Welcome to Coffluent Podcast, where words flow, confidence grows, and every sip brings you closer to fluency.
And today we have a really fascinating deep dive for you.
We really do. I mean, imagine spending 2 entire decades of your life just like waking up to an alarm clock every day.
Oh, the worst.
Right. Putting on some uniform or a collar and just driving to a job that slowly, methodically drains all the color out of your world.
And bouncing around from, fast food to social work, totally convinced that the reason you're miserable is just because you haven't found the right boss yet.
Exactly. Or like the right company. So today's source material actually comes from a live stream by this world-renowned English teacher.
Yeah, a creator who built this massive following by helping people learn the language without all those dusty, boring textbooks.
But the thing is, he didn't log on to talk about grammar this time.
No, not at all.
He went incredibly deep into the philosophy of money, work, and basically escaping the rat race.
Using his own 20-year career wilderness as this ultimate cautionary tale.
Which is so relatable. And our mission today is to unpack his blueprint for finding financial and personal freedom. So, you can evaluate your own career path.
Because the math of an average life puts this huge existential weight on this topic.
Totally.
I mean, the average person spends about 40 hours a week actually working.
Plus the morning prep, the commute.
Exactly, the commute. And that mandatory lunch break where your location is still dictated by the company.
No, and the decompression time when you finally get home and just collapse.
Right. So you're dedicating 60 to 70 hours of your week to the machinery of your career. And if that machinery makes you miserable...
Your life is miserable. By definition.
Exactly. So whether you're 15 or 50, if you've ever felt like a money slave, trapped in a job you hate, this deep dive is definitely for you.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because his core argument tackles the fundamental way we judge a career, right? Especially younger people, they're so obsessed with the amount of money they make.
We all are, really. We just look at that sheer number attached to the job title.
But his thesis is that the amount of money you make is actually a terrible predictor of happiness.
It really is. What actually determines your baseline contentment is how you make that money.
Yes. Making, say, $50,000 a year, doing work that actually aligns with your nature.
That's infinitely better than making $200,000 while just swimming in chronic stress.
And he proves this using his own struggles. I mean, from age 17 all the way to 37, he was just wandering through this eclectic maze of jobs.
Yeah, he started out in high school, wearing a visor at Arby's.
Slicing roast beef.
Right. And then years later, he was a social worker, which, carrying the heavy emotional burden of that field is intense.
Oh, absolutely. But he noticed this really bizarre pattern during those 20 years.
Which was?
His absolute best jobs were the ones where he simply got bored after a year or two. Yeah. And his worst jobs. They triggered this instant, visceral misery the second he walked through the doors.
But, people listening right now might push back on that.
How so?
Well, they might say, isn't it an immense luxury to just quit a miserable, high-paying job?
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, people get trapped in these situations that look amazing from the outside, so they stay.
Right, but I always compare that to living in a golden cage. Or... honestly, a high-paying, miserable job is more like wearing a pair of $5,000 designer shoes that are 2 sizes too small.
Oh, man. That sounds painful.
Exactly. Like you look incredibly successful to everyone on the street. People are probably jealous of your lifestyle.
But with every step you take, you're in agonizing pain.
You can't run, you can't jump, you just limp through your week waiting to take them off on Friday night.
That physical restriction translates so perfectly to the psychological toll he talks about. Yeah, because he emphasizes the insidious danger of what he calls the so-so job.
So-so job.
Yeah, because think about it. An instantly miserable job will just force you to quit. The pain is too sharp.
You just walk out.
Exactly. But a so-so job, one that pays just enough to keep you comfortable.
Oh, I see where this is going.
But requires just enough soul-crushing compromise to keep you docile. That's a slow poison.
Because you never actually leave.
Right. When you settle for so-so work, the compromise bleeds into your personality. You actually become a so-so person.
Wow. That is terrifying.
It is. The passion drains out of your hobbies, your relationships, your entire worldview. It's boiling frog syndrome.
And suddenly 10 years have just vanished.
Exactly.
So for him, the turning point happens when he hits 38. He has this massive realization that for 20 years, he wasn't just working at the wrong companies.
Right. The specific tasks weren't the real issue.
The problem was structural. He realized he was operating in the entirely wrong category of work altogether.
And that structural diagnosis brings us to the mechanics of earning a living. He actually leans on Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant to map this out.
Yes, the 4 quadrants, which is so helpful because it's not just a list of job titles.
No, it's more like a psychological profile of how we exchange our life force for resources.
So let's break these down. Category 1 is basically the default setting for almost the entire planet, right? The employee.
Right. You receive a paycheck, and you report to a boss.
And the creator realized he despised this dynamic down to his bones.
He said he felt like a prisoner.
Yeah, because he had zero autonomy over his own time. He couldn't choose when to work or how to work or who to work with.
Well, and he makes this really provocative claim about that. He says the traditional schooling system actually operates as this massive brainwashing program to manufacture compliant employees.
Brainwashing. That's a strong word.
It is, but look at the structural mechanics of a traditional classroom from, age 5 to 18.
Okay.
You sit in rows. You ask an authority figure for permission just to use the restroom. Your day is completely dictated by bells.
Oh, wow. Yeah, when you put it like that.
And most importantly, your self-worth and your future prospects are tied to a grading system that perfectly mimics a bi-weekly paycheck.
You do a series of repetitive tasks you largely don't care about, just to get an external reward, an A or a B.
Handed down by a superior. So by the time you enter the workforce, that psychological dependency, needing a boss to tell you what to do, it's deeply hardwired into your neurology.
That makes so much sense. Okay, so category 2 is the freelancer or the self-employed.
Right, so this is your web designer, your independent consultant, freelance writer.
You don't have one single boss, you have multiple clients. You charge by the hour or by the project.
And a lot of people leap into this quadrant thinking they've finally escaped the rat race.
Because it's flexible.
Exactly. But the creator points out this massive, almost invisible trap here.
Because
if you're a freelancer and you decide to, say, take a month off to go to the beach or you get sick, your income immediately drops to absolute zero.
Oh, right, because you only get paid when you're actively working.
The illusion of autonomy there is super powerful. You technically set your own hours, but you're still trading hours for dollars. You've really just decentralized your employer.
Often, freelancers discover they've become their own worst boss.
Yeah.
Working weekends, holidays, just because that anxiety of not producing billable hours is overwhelming.
Exactly.
It's basically like renting your freedom. You have the flexibility to take a Tuesday afternoon off, but you still owe that time back to the market on Saturday.
Renting your freedom. That's a great way to put it.
Thanks. So category 3 is the entrepreneur or the business owner. And this is fundamentally different.
Very different. The defining mechanic here is the creation of a system.
Right. You're building an asset that generates revenue independently of your physical presence.
So your software is processing subscriptions while you sleep, or your management team is running your physical store while you're on vacation.
And this detachment of income from active labor, this is where the creator finally found his sanctuary, his happiness.
Total creative control and temporal freedom.
Like buying your freedom outright. But of course, it comes with a steep mortgage of uncertainty.
Which we'll get to in a second. But first, there's category 4. The investor.
Right. Deploying capital to generate more capital. Stocks, real estate, index funds.
You're using money to make money, essentially cloning your resources without active labor.
But the creator admitted he tried this and absolutely hated it.
Yeah, he said staring at charts and analyzing abstract market fluctuations just felt disconnected. To him, it felt like gambling.
He vastly preferred taking his surplus capital and injecting it back into his own entrepreneurial systems, right? Where he actually had control.
Exactly. So we have the employee, the freelancer, the entrepreneur, and the investor.
And given that he found his ultimate joy as an entrepreneur, you'd think he'd be standing on a mountaintop telling everyone to start a business.
Right. But what's fascinating here is he takes the exact opposite stance.
Wait, really? He tells people not to do it.
Yeah, he aggressively cautions the average person against becoming a business owner, which just shows this deep understanding of human psychology.
How so?
He recognizes that true entrepreneurs are kind of a psychological anomaly. The vast majority of people actually possess this deep biological craving for security.
Oh, I see. They want predictability.
Exactly. Setting your own prices and staring into the void of a month where you might make $50,000 or you might make literally $0.
That's completely crushing for most people.
We say we want total freedom, but total freedom means a complete lack of guardrails. A lot of people secretly want a benevolent dictator, a boss who just hands them a task, guarantees the paycheck, and absorbs all the risk.
Wow. So if the terrifying uncertainty of being an entrepreneur ruins your peace of mind, you haven't really escaped the rat race at all.
No, you've just built a custom, personalized rat race that is way more stressful than your old cubicle.
Okay, so the goal isn't to force everyone into business ownership. It's to figure out which quadrant actually fits your tolerance for risk.
Exactly, which frames the advice he gave during the Q&A segment of his live stream perfectly.
Oh, right. The 15-year-old listener.
Yeah, this teenager asked him how to choose a career path.
And instead of telling him to, take a personality test or pick a major with a high salary, his advice was entirely empirical.
He basically said, don't try to pick a lifelong career right now.
Right, because when you have zero experience, trying to map out a 40-year trajectory is just blind guessing.
You can't solve the quadrant equation through theory. You have to run experiments.
So he told his kid to try everything. Work indoors under fluorescent lights, then go work outside in the elements.
Try a job that requires intense mental focus, then take a job based entirely on physical labor.
Work for a massive, faceless corporation, and then a tiny mom-and-pop shop.
You're just collecting data points on what conditions make you thrive and what conditions make you wither.
I love that.
Yeah.
But even when you do the experiments and figure out your ideal quadrant, making that leap is still incredibly hard.
Because we're fighting these massive societal anchors.
Yes. The traps that keep us stuck in the wrong quadrants, and the biggest one is the sunk cost fallacy, especially with education.
This was a huge reveal. The creator actually holds a university degree in journalism.
Which is crazy, right?
Yeah, and he got it purely out of parental pressure. That classic, you need a respectable profession narrative.
He pushed through the whole curriculum, got the piece of paper, and completely hated the field.
Never worked a single day as a full-time journalist.
The lesson there is huge.
Yeah.
We fall into this trap in our 20s and 30s. We spend 4 years and a ton of money studying a subject.
And then our brain convinces us we're obligated to do it for the next 40 years.
Otherwise, the investment was wasted.
Yeah.
But his message is basically a sledgehammer to that logic. Do not be a hostage to your past decisions.
If you have a master's degree in engineering but realize at 35 you want to open a bakery, open the bakery.
Age and academic credentials just do not matter. The fact that he didn't launch his successful business until 38 proves the timeline is entirely artificial.
Right. But escaping those societal expectations requires changing the fundamental metric of how we measure a successful life.
Okay, and here's where it gets really interesting. The source material draws this brilliant comparison using macroeconomics.
Yeah, looking at how countries measure success. In nearly every country, leaders gauge the health of their nation using GDP, gross domestic product.
Which simply measures how much stuff we sell, right?
Yeah.
The economic value of
Yeah.
goods and services.
Exactly. But GDP is a deeply flawed metric for actual well-being. If a city is leveled by a hurricane and billions of dollars are spent rebuilding it, the GDP goes up.
So the economy looks healthy.
Even though the citizens are traumatized and
When
suffering.
the creator juxtaposes that with the country of Bhutan, they measure their success through gross national happiness.
Which is amazing. They structurally prioritize the psychological and spiritual well-being of their citizens over sheer industrial output.
So the leap he asked the listener to make is to apply this framework to the individual. Stop measuring your career by your personal GDP, your salary, your square footage.
And start measuring it by gross personal happiness.
But to transition to that, to break the addiction to a monthly salary, you have to reduce your desires.
This is the mechanical secret to mobility between the quadrants. The creator actually references Henry David Thoreau and quotes the movie Fight Club.
The things you own end up owning you.
Yes. Every time you upgrade your car, finance a larger house, or inflate your lifestyle, you are raising the monthly subscription cost of your own existence.
Lowering your overhead is basically the ultimate career hack. If you need $10,000 a month just to keep the lights on, you're a hostage.
You can't take a pay cut to move into a job you love in a different quadrant. You are trapped in the high-stress role.
But if you drastically reduce your desires and live simply, you buy back your autonomy. The lower your required income, the more choices you have on Monday morning.
And we have to ground this whole philosophical discussion in biological reality, too.
The toothache rule.
Yes, this is the ultimate reality check on wealth and ambition from his Q&A.
So explain this, because it's so grounded.
Well, you can successfully navigate into your ideal quadrant. You can build a thriving business, have a beautiful minimalist lifestyle, have tons of money.
Right.
But if you suddenly develop a severe throbbing toothache, absolutely none of that matters.
The pain just eclipses the entire world.
You aren't thinking about your business systems or your philosophy. You are only thinking about the agony in your jaw.
Health is the absolute non-negotiable baseline of wealth. 0 multiplied by any amount of money is still 0.
Exactly. Sacrificing your physical well-being, losing sleep, dealing with chronic cortisol spikes, eating garbage because you're chained to a desk all for a higher salary. It's a profoundly bad trade.
And he is extremely dedicated to health. The source highlights this practice of his that definitely challenges conventional routines.
Yeah, the snake juice fasting. And, we're just impartially reporting the mechanics of his routine here, not taking sides.
Right, of course. But he routinely abstains from all calories for 48 hours straight.
He uses this prolonged fast to train his metabolism to burn stored fat. But more importantly, it breaks the psychological panic associated with hunger.
Think about the anxiety that bubbles up if a meeting runs late and you just miss lunch. You get irritable, your focus shatters.
Your body basically throws a tantrum.
Yes. That panic is a dependency. And sitting comfortably with hunger for 2 days mirrors the financial mechanism of living simply.
It's all connected. Until you can break your biological dependency on constant food and your financial dependency on a massive paycheck, you're operating from fear.
Not a place of free choice.
It's a unified theory of autonomy. Mastering your internal environment is the prerequisite for mastering the external environment of your career.
We have journeyed through an incredible landscape today. We mapped the 20-year wilderness of the wrong jobs, diagnosed the psychological traps of the 4 quadrants,
Dismantled the sunk cost of university degrees, and even explored the biology of fasting.
So synthesizing this vast blueprint down for the listener, the undeniable takeaway is that a larger paycheck will not cure a structural misalignment in your life.
No, it won't. Real freedom is auditing your own tolerance for risk and having the courage to align your work with your actual nature.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
the Creator is handing you permission to change course.
Right. Changing your career path at 40 because the trajectory you started at 20 is making you miserable. That doesn't make you a failure.
Quitting a so-so job that is slowly draining your passion doesn't make you irresponsible.
The only true mistake is staying in a situation that crushes your spirit purely out of fear.
But, and this is important, he is highly pragmatic. Always look for the new job while you're working the old one.
Secure the new bridge before you burn the old one. Hunt for the work you love while using the work you hate to pay the rent.
Don't let fear paralyze you, but don't let romanticized ideas make you reckless either.
Exactly.
So as we close this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought experiment to test your own structural alignment.
Okay, let's hear it.
If your main goal is simply to buy more things, you will always be a money slave. But imagine you could wave a wand tomorrow and instantly cut your living expenses in half.
Wow, okay.
If the financial pressure was drastically reduced and you didn't need the money as desperately to survive, how much of your current work week would you actually choose to keep doing?
That's a tough question.
Does your career bring you gross personal happiness or just a gross domestic product?
Something to really think about.
Take a breath and really think about it.